So welcome in. A massive week awaits us at Quail Hollow. The PGA Championship this weekend. Going to be bloody exciting. Possibly one of the best majors we're ever going to see in our lifetime, with some of the form the players are in this week. Rory McIlroy, Scotty Scheffler, Justin Thomas, Xander Schauffele. The list goes on. Absolutely red raw with contenders this weekend. So we're going to chat about that. I'm going to give my picks a little bit later on. Selections, all that. We had a great weekend last weekend. Really exciting at the Truist Championship at Philadelphia Golf Club. Unbelievable finish to that tournament. So exciting on the last day. Shane Lowry comes in runner-up position alongside Justin Thomas. And Sepp Straka wins. Brilliant stuff from Sepp Straka. We had two each ways. We called Justin Thomas and Shane Lowry. I pretty much basically said I thought Shane Lowry was going to be shoe-in for an each way last weekend, but serious drama going down that back nine on Saturday night. Lowry, I think after the first hole, took the lead. Then it swung back to Sepp Straka after an eagle, and then going down the home stretch, I think Lowry bogeyed two of the last three to sort of throw it away. Lost the head a little bit. You do feel with Shane, the putting, as we mentioned last week again, that it wasn't quite there, but really exciting stuff. And Sepp Straka is the only player to have won twice this season alongside Rory McIlroy in the PGA Tour. He's the only multiple winner. Just a really fun event. Course played brilliant. I thought a lot of the pros even said that they thought the course was going to play a lot harder than it did. A lot easier than it did. It played pretty tough and stuck up to the task, and a really good event, really great crowds as well if you watch any of the action during the weekend. So unbelievable stuff from Sepp Straka, up to number 9 in the world now. Shane Lowry in at number 10. So just really, really good way, I think, to go into this week at Quail Hollow. But okay, let's get into that at Quail Hollow. You know, a lot has been made of the US PGA Championship this week at Quail Hollow. Why is it at Quail Hollow? Because we obviously see Quail Hollow on the PGA Tour every year, and I think people are a little bit possibly just fed up of the fact that we're seeing too many similar courses at major championships. But you know, it is going to play like a regular PGA Tour event this week, but the rough is going to be a bit longer. I think they've double seeded this year. Obviously, it was supposed to be last week. That's why it was in Philly Cricket Club last week, due to hosting the US PGA this year. So the conditions, that's been talked about a lot actually this week, is the conditions of the course and what we're going to get this week. And it is interesting to see that it's been piss and rain all week. It's going to play a lot softer. I think they're probably a little bit annoyed with that. They would have wanted to play firm, fast. Greens obviously would have been tougher. So it's going to suit a lot of the guys here, a lot of the bigger hitters. Paul McGinley said during the week that the course is going to play as long as Augusta National. We all know who's won there before. Rory has 4 wins there. Incredible record at Quail Hollow. I'm going to pull up some stats in a moment when we get talking about the picks, etc. Will he go really well there? Going to be interesting. A little bit off the radar last week in terms of his drive and a few shots he needs to clean up on if he wants to go out and make it 5 at Quail Hollow. But we obviously have the green mile, 16, 17 and 18. Really interesting week ahead. But I do think, you know, we're looking at the sort of the narratives coming in. Spieth's gone for the Grand Slam. Not as good last week as he has been in prior weeks, but a guy who I think has that belief and confidence back in himself after obviously the wrist surgery. So that's a fascinating narrative, and it's getting more spotlight. Jordan did even say it. We've all the pre-PGA interviews there in the YouTube channel. So if you're getting value, do subscribe, like all that. But Jordan did say that he doesn't believe this would have gotten as much attention, the talk of his career Grand Slam at this event, if it wasn't for Rory McIlroy obviously winning the Grand Slam at the Masters. So there's a lot of fun. There's a lot of other narratives going in. Can Scotty get there? Can Xander Schauffele bounce back after that injury? He's been knocking on the door the last few weeks. But again, it's like Scotty when he won at the Byron Nelson. I think he needs a few more weeks before we really see him, getting up there, contending. He's been top 25s, top 12s, all that, but right in the mix before we see him back in there, in my opinion. But we'll talk about that in a few minutes' time as well. But just a really fun week at Philadelphia Cricket Club. So I think we've had, what is that now? That's since the show started. We've had, I think, 4 each ways and 2 winners since we've started the show. This is episode number 5. So not a bad conversion rate. Very unlucky last weekend. I thought Shane or Justin could have done it a little bit off. In terms of, I would say for Justin, a cup one, a wayward drive. Shane was a wayward drive in the last, but Shane's putting, I think, was the issue that really let him down on Sunday, should I say. But great watch. I loved it. I thought it was brilliant. I think they should try and get back up that region of the United States again. Really fun course. A great watch, in my opinion. So let's get on to it. A massive week starting tomorrow on Thursday at Quail Hollow. So I think you're going to always have your sort of obvious picks here, and people are going to look at Rory. There's incredible record around this course. The 4 wins we've obviously mentioned, but it's just a little bit, I wouldn't say underwhelmed. I would have said I was a little bit surprised at, maybe not the foot taken off the gas, but there was one or two things Rory did last weekend and surprised me. I thought he was a little bit more erratic than we've seen in a long time off the tee. Some of the ball striking wasn't as good as it could have been. But the narrative here is people are going to go, is Rory going to kick on, and the pressure is off. But I've mentioned this could possibly go the other way, where he gets, I've done it all now, and possibly, there's that lack of real fire, desire to go out there and get the job done. But I think with all the talk on him this week, has seemed to fire up the guys around him. Like Scotty, obviously, we saw at the Byron Nelson PGA Tour record low score over 4 rounds. Incredible. Like Scotty is more accurate off the tee. I think there's maybe a little bit more burning desire in Scotty. Justin Thomas also talked about it. He said he's, what fuels him is competitive jealousy. That's on the channel as well. That press conference from yesterday, you can check that out. Really interesting stuff there. So I think there is a lot of maybe negatives this week for Rory more than there is positives in terms of the long sale of things. And let's remember, I'm not shitting on Rory here, but he did get over the line at Augusta, but it was his first major title in 11 years. So I think we're way too soon to be talking about him going on to win, 9, 10, 11 Grand Slams. And I'm quite adamant about that. I think the landscape of the competitive game is so high these days that we're going to have multiple winners for many more years to come. But let's have a little look. Some tweets have pulled up here, some stats. Justin Ray, absolutely, this guy is some of the best stats around. Fantastic stuff. So this is obviously the course has changed. There's been major renovations since 2020 when Rory first played there. There's major renovations, I think, in 2019, 2016 and 2019 again. So it's a completely different course than it was. It's a lot longer. But look at some of these stats. They're absolutely insane. Rory McIlroy, cumulative score in par at Quail Hollow since 2010. Rory McIlroy, minus 102 over 50 rounds. Ricky Fowler, minus 47 over 45 rounds. Phil Mickelson, minus 44 over 40 rounds. Pretty incredible stuff. But, the setup will probably suit him this week again. But, I heard a lot of people say, it's softer. The greens will be more receptive, which obviously they will be. He'll be hitting the ball further than a lot of other guys. But you have to figure in the fact that the seeding in the rough is, I think they've double seeded it, so it's going to be a lot thicker, a lot tougher to get out the rough. You have to hit fairways around this course. And I think McIlroy's possibly struggled, around the fringes of the greens with his chipping. He was duffing a lot of chips last year. Obviously, he's played a lot better this year, but last year he was struggling around that. So and he was missing fairways last week. So I'm just not sure. The sharpness is going to be there after the 2 big wins this year. Obviously, the Players Championship and then obviously the momentous historic win at the Masters. So out of the top sort of guys, I think Scott, anyone who finishes ahead of Scotty's going to win this week, in my opinion. I don't like the price in terms of betting line. I wouldn't be backing Scotty at 9-2, and I don't think I'd be going near Rory at 6-1. I think you're looking further down the field for guys if you want to get value out of some bets this week. But these are the bets now. Hang on a second. I'm just going to pull this up here because I am on my own. But there are some incredible stats. Do follow that guy, Justin Ray. He offers some incredible insight into the course. But I think a lot of it's about feel as well, who you're looking at, who's playing well. What are they saying in the build-up to the tournament? And there's been some really interesting things said by a lot of the players coming in with all the narratives floating around. And these are my selections for this week. And I'm going to talk why I've picked them and why I think further down the field. I think there's only a handful of guys. I think everyone's sort of saying this week that are capable of winning this tournament. But, the US PGA does always hit up some random winners. You've like Jason Duffner has won it, Sean McKeel over the years. Who else? Rich Beam from Sky Sports. It always has like these. It's this one championship that you'll always sort of get someone coming out of nowhere. But I think that's less likely to happen this week. I think you're more likely to get better value out of an each way bet from someone further down the field, such as let's have a look at them here. Okay, Ricky Fowler, Gary Woodland. They're the type of guys that I think, will be worth an each way bet this week. With Shane Lowry there again. I think a lot of people aren't talking about Shane this week coming in. Possibly because, he hasn't traditionally done in the past so well in longer golf courses. But if Shane can get on the fairways, which he's been pretty good at this season, I think about 296 is his average drive in the tour. It's below the big bombers such as Bryson DeChambeau, Rory McIlroy, JT Brooks, those boys. But if he can sort of get the ball in play, one of the best long iron players and wedge players in the game, it's just the putting here. But, you're looking at 40-1 for Shane Lowry there. I think that's worth an each way bet, especially at a major championship when they're playing top 8 places. He's had a lot of really good, solid finishes this season. I think, 2 runners up, obviously last weekend. Then we had him runner up at the AT&T at Pebble Beach. Best season ever. He's up to the first time ever in the world he's been in top 10. So, these guys, I think when you're looking at 40s, 45-1, Jordan Spieth, what did Jordan do last week? Where did Jordan finish? I think he was quite far down the field. Just let me get this up here and see where Jordan finished last week. But it was a bit of an underwhelming week for me for Jordan last week. But I think, a lot of his mind would have been on this week going into to this major and sort of assessing his game and maybe getting out parts of his game that he didn't want to have coming into this week. So where did Jordan finish? He was quite far back the field in the end. He was tied 34th in the field, -4. But as we talked about the last number of weeks, Jordan has really turned around his game to the point where he's actually able to lift a club. He's actually able to. He was talking about it there yesterday. He's able to pick up at his kids without his wrist dislocating. He's able to just do normal things that possibly he wasn't able to do a few months ago. So that's just absolutely fantastic for Jordan. Look at this. Like tied 28th, tied 12th, tied 54th, tied 18th, 4th, tied 34th. In my opinion, going into this week, where a lot of his focus has probably been channeled on, he's worth an each way at 45-1 as well. I truly do believe that Jordan's definitely worth the punt this week, and it makes things more interesting. How good would it be to see Jordan up there, knocking on the door with the sort of the big guns again and getting back into that mix? And it's been one of those seasons where we've had so many crazy storylines and we've had so many players sort of maybe out of form, but it's all coming to crescendo now at the moment. I'm absolutely buzzing for this week, I do have to say. Okay, let's pull up some more. So yeah, like I am liking that. If you're sort of like mid-level, I'd go with Shane Lowry and Jordan Spieth in terms of if you want to get a good value bets, because if we're going to oppose the boys we've been chatting about there. I think that could be a really, really good price and something that people need to definitely look at this week. Because, is there that much value on the two boys at the top? As I said there, I think anyone who finishes above Scotty is going to win it. And there is one person I do think has a very good chance of finishing above Scotty Scheffler this week. And that man is Mr. Justin Thomas. Honestly, guys, I think he's going to be delighted this week with the way things have panned out in terms of no one's really talking about him. And it's absolutely wild that he's flown under the radar so much. And I'm sure he's happy about it. You've players like, Brooks Koepka, who's a serial US PGA winner. He's won 3 of them and 2 US Opens. But Justin has won here. He's won here in 2017, his first PGA Championship. And he's in such good form that you're just going like, why is no one really talking about Justin Thomas this week? Why? Because there's so many other stories. There's Scotty Scheffler, Rory McIlroy, Bryson DeChambeau. People are obsessed with that. Xander Schauffele. Can Xander get back in the mix after, that rib injury? Can he get back up into that sort of top 5, compete for a major title this season? And everyone's fascinated to see how Scotty's going to bounce back as well. So, you're looking at a guy arguably here, right? Most consistent form on the tour at the moment. And, arguably playing the best golf out of anyone in competitive fields. Tied second last week. Won the RBC Heritage. Not a great Masters. But, as we just said there, PGA Championships suit him better. He's won 2 of them. Why not a third this week? This guy is totally flying under the radar. Second at the Valspar, then a week before the Masters. And just look at that season. It's super impressive. And he's getting better and better every week. And I had some look on Data Golf this week. If I can pull it up here, wherever Data Golf is gone. These are some of the strokes gained there. So the last 4 events, off the tee is where you're going to worry with Justin. There is that push left. And he did push it left a couple of times last weekend, to be fair. But still, off the tee last weekend, there was plus 0.74 gain on shots off the tee. But look at the totals there. Go back to the Valspar. 3.22 total. Drop back at the Masters. We'll forgive him with that one. Augusta National. RBC Heritage, 3.35. And then plus 3.26 shots gained on in total last week at the Truist Championship. This guy is 18-1. You're going to get him best bet at. You'll get him even higher. You'll get him on the Betfair Exchange at 22-1, which is just, in my opinion, I'm pretty strong on this. And we've got a good few quid off Justin the last few weeks, finishing second. Obviously, we had him when he won, but I think here is I think that's really is a good price for a guy who's so suited to US PGA setups. I'm liking it. Let's just take a little look. Obviously, won there in 2017. 2 runners-up positions and a win his last 4 events. Gained strokes off the tee everywhere for the last 3 of the last 4 events. Sneakily, this is what I want to say. Sneakily coming in as the most informed player on the PGA Tour this year. I think that's a fair comment. He's just been consistent right the way through most of this year and really back in the mix. And I think everything around Justin Thomas, Brooks Koepka, all the big guns, we know this, it gears up towards majors. So Justin will be my one and done this week. I really do like Justin Thomas. He's my number 1 pick this week to win. As I mentioned, I think Shane and the other boys, such as Shane and who am I talking about? Jesus Christ. Shane and totally lost the run of myself here. What am I saying? I need to pull this up. Hang on. So sorry. Shane and Jordan Spieth, definitely in each way. Bet in my opinion. Justin Rose, I go along the same with Justin Rose. I really do. He's some really interesting stats as well coming into this week. does Justin Rose in terms of how he's done in the last 5 USPGA championships. He has some really interesting stats. He's been top 5 in all of the last 15 USPGA championships, coming in second off the Masters. I don't know what happened, lad. Did he miss the cut last week or pull out? I'm not sure. But Justin, again, another player who's geared toward these legacy events. You know, he'll pop out of nowhere in the bigger events. We saw how good he was at the Masters. That's a really impressive stat. Top 15 in each of the last 5 years at the USPGA Championship. I like that. And I think the price you're looking at there, you know, you're going to get 90 to 1. Surely that's worth a little wager each way when they're playing, you know, top, like, you know, what, quarter, 50 odds places, probably 1 to 8. And these are not even the best odds. There was actually better odds in other places. This is just off a certain bookmaker that I've taken here. So if you fish around, like, good odds checker or something, you'll get better odds to see what you can get on there. But, you know, Justin Rose, a guy for the big occasion. Like, honestly, I think that's a really, really good value bet, in my opinion, if you're going to have a punt this weekend. And then another one, I am, like I mentioned, Brooks. Brooks will go along the lines of, you know, Shane Lowry. And, you know, we don't get a lot of stats with Liv. That's the frustrating things. You'd be in that bracket. But the interesting thing for Brooks Koepka was, at the Masters, obviously, I think his putting was so bad at the Masters. He was really good off his ball striking was fine, really good off the tee, really strong off the tee. It was the putting that let him down at the Masters. I think he 4 put at the last, got an 8 in the last to miss the cut at the midway point at Augusta National. But you're not going to see that from Brooks again, in my opinion. I don't think Brooks is going to go out again and do that in a major. How bad he was. He only cares. Another guy he's talked about this. Only cares about majors. He's a 3-time USPGA winner. You know, as I said, the putter was cold, really, really cold that week. 35 to 1. Not a bad price, guys. Not a bad price for a guy at his quad. And he's a guy. He comes in. I'm a big believer in this. I've always said certain guys play well at certain times of the year. And they schedule, you know, their preseason after fall or whatever, and they come back out, and you get the same guys obviously winning certain events. I know it's courses, but you also get the same guys winning events even at different courses at the same times of the year. It's an odd thing. It does happen, and Brooks is definitely one of those guys. He comes into form around this time of the year. So, like, Brooks is another guy, if you're looking for a little bit of value, like, I really don't see much wrong with having a little nibble on Brooks at 35 to 1. You know, the interesting thing is, you know, is there injuries knocking on his head? You know, he's had the knee replacements, all that. He's talked about possibly coming back to the PGA Tour this year. Well, it's been rumoured that he has. And the rumour was, the talk around the town was that he went to live due to that injury because he wasn't sure of his future. You know, obviously, PIF pay pretty good money. So you can't kind of blame him in that regard for going over. And he is sort of the most openly rumoured guy to be interested in coming back to PGA Tour. But that's not here nor there. That's for a different day. But a guy I definitely do like this week, like as an each way bet. I think it's really sort of fun to look at 3 USPGA championships as well. Very interesting, in my opinion, see how Brooksy goes this week. Excited. I am excited. Okay, so let's take a little other look at it. You know, Ricky Fowler, 110 to 1. Another one, right? Tied 8 in 2017 behind JT, who obviously won it. Won in 2012 before the renovations. But he showed some good form last week, to be fair to him, Ricky. Drived a lot better. Putter looked a lot hotter. 110 to 1. A guy, and it is interesting. I'll try and pull this up now here if you just give me a second. I saw this on Twitter yesterday about Ricky Fowler. Apparently, pull this up now. He went around the back 9 hitting every fairway yesterday and apparently looked in pretty good form. Knows the course very well. Yeah, like a little tickle, a little fancy tickle on Ricky Fowler. A little tickle. Worth we're at the bet, guys. I'm telling you, I think Ricky's something sort of clicked in the last couple of weeks with that putter. And it looks good. The driving looks pretty good there, in my opinion. What else have we got lined up? Sorry, yes. My other, this will probably come as a surprise to a lot of people. I don't really care because it is just a guy who really will be absolutely kicking himself after what happened at Augusta National a number of months ago. Or last month. Don't know what month it is. There's too much golf on. Patrick Reed. Right. Let's look at Patrick Reed. 3-putter at the Masters. If he had have 2-putted at the Masters, he would have been in the playoff. That will absolutely eat him. He hasn't always seen eye to eye with Rory McIlroy. We remember the war of words. There's been a number of back and forths between them over the years. But he's a guy who has an all-round game to compete here. I think there's a lot of people writing him off. If I can just pull this up. Where are my bloody notes? Sorry, just a little bit all over the place here. I'm going to pull the odds up, right? So if we can get Patrick Reed up here, where are we? Solo third at the Masters. Also was 3 top 8s at Quail Hollow since the redesign, including its tied second at the 2017 PGA Championship. That is like, if you're not telling me that's good odds at 90 to 1, there's something wrong with you. Another guy, I think he's geared towards majors. He's obviously a Masters winner before. Really didn't look like he wanted to win it, like Ludwig Gobert and himself didn't really and Rory, for that example, didn't really look like they wanted to win the Masters at one point in the Sunday evening at Augusta. But a guy who's really flying under the radar again this week, and I'm just very excited to see what Patrick Reed offers, because we know he's good off the tee, really good iron pair, a really good scrambler, really good chipper. Putting, yes, when it's hot, it's hot. Let's not mention the 3-putter at Augusta. But I'm telling you guys, I'm keen. Along with Justin, I'll have Justin top. I've been talking up Justin. I'm not going to get off that train this week. But if there's anyone second, like I know it's listed there, Thomas, I've just listed, and obviously, shortest odds to longest odds. I would have Justin Thomas, then Patrick Reed. 70 there. I've seen him as big as 90 in other places. So he's going to be a lot more on the exchange as well. I always say to people, right, this is the way I'm sort of doing my breakdown at the moment. The longer the odds, you go over to Sportsbook. The shorter the odds, if you want to have a punt on them, you're sure they're going to win, just put that on the nose on the exchange, because you're going to get way better prices on the exchange. If we'll just pull that up here. So yeah, here's the exchange. Justin Thomas, 22 to 1. Shane Lowry, 59 to 1. Brooks, 69 to 1. Jordan Spieth, 84 to 1. Patrick Reed, 89 to 1. There we go. Justin Rose, 159 to 1. Ricky Fowler, 289 to 1. Gary Woodland, 279 to 1. So you can see exactly what's going on there. There's my balance. Not much in it, but we'll have to top that up. But yeah, it's just a fascinating time to be alive this week with this on. I think we're in for an absolute barnstormer of a US PGA Championship. And it's just going to be absolutely fantastic to see how it pans out, how the weather holds up. I'm really interested to see that, because with the weather being so all over the place at Quail Hollow, it is, it's sort of, I think it's even restricted the field more. I think you're only going to have a certain type of player, a certain amount of players that are going to be able to win this. And we've probably actually spoken about all of them. Even outside that, you Jason Day, Sepp Straka, people haven't really talked about him this week. Could easily, contend. Jason's obviously won here before. Is there anyone else that sticks out in my mind there that I'm looking through the field that I'd really have a punt on? Phil Mickelson, good record around here, but obviously playing on Live Golf and probably not getting competitive rounds in he would like. there always is someone, though. The weird thing about as much as I just said that, there always is the US PGA Championship weird guy that jumps out of there. I've heard Dean Burmester's name mentioned a lot from this week, obviously from Live Golf. Launches the ball absolutely smoke. You're going to have to be able to smoke the ball around here. But again, if you can hit an iron really long and you can control them, and you're around the 295, 300 mark, you could be okay to contend. I think there's a few guys we mentioned earlier on that might be sort of in that category. Unbelievable groupings as well. They've obviously put there they are there in front of us. I'm just looking at them for the last few minutes, but they've obviously put Scotty Scheffler, Rory McIlroy, and Xander Schauffele out together in a really good grouping from my eyes. There's Ireland, Seamus Power, Patrick Fishburne, Andrew Chi. Who else are we looking at? Brooks Koepka, Ricky Fowler, Shane Lowry. Another great group. Really looking forward to that one there. I'm sure on featured groups and the coverage. I know obviously the first mentioned group is the Marquee group. Harris English, Michael Kim, Thomas Dietrich, John Rahm, Patrick Cantley, Matt Fitzpatrick. There's Robbie Mack, Hogarth, Minwoo Lee, Phillips. Yeah, I just think the way golf has gone at the moment, I don't, it's going to be one of the top 5 guys in the world, from my opinion, winning this week. I'm finding it hard to look past that. I know a lot of people are, but it is the sort of reality situation that we're looking at this week that it's just bubbling so well. It's just all come together, I think, at the right time. And I think this could be an all-timer. I generally believe that could be looking at an all-time major this week. So, okay, the one and done, we'll just go through them before we get out of here. The one and done is Justin Thomas, Patrick Reed. I go each ways, Shane Lowry, Jordan Spieth, and Brooksy. Big outsiders, if you want to put a little each way putting them as well. I go Ricky Fowler and Gary Woodland. And we didn't actually really mention Gary there in terms of, Gary's come back this season, obviously after the brain surgery, and he's just looked a lot better, a lot more confident. He even said, I think, in the docuseries that he's feeling a lot better about himself. In terms of he's not getting the really severe headaches that he was getting, and we could see that in his game. And I was very close to winning $2 or $3 grand off him when he finished second at the Valspar. I think it was the Valspar or the Cognizant, or Valspar, I think it was. And he was 5th at Quail Hollow in 2021. So when you're looking at a guy at a price of 175 to 1, that's, he is getting better. One of my lights has just gone off there. That's pretty annoying. That's probably a sign for me to get out of here. It's actually a beautiful day out here in Dublin. The shutters closed over. But anyway, listen, guys, that's my picks. I think we're in for an awesome week. It's going to be unbelievable. I am off on Sunday evening, so if we're in the mix, we might do a watch along if I am at home. If you're getting value, as I said, do subscribe, hit the notification button. There's been loads of views on the videos, but the subscriber rate does need to get up. So if you could hit that subscribe button, that would be absolutely amazing. Loads of videos as well, as I said, on the channel there. This week we have videos. I'll just pull it up here if I can. So where are we now? There we go. So yeah, here we are. We've loads of stuff up there. There's Bryson. That was I
think it's just a matter of time.
He's talking a bit of shite there. That was interesting. Actually, he was speaking about Rory, and he's loved to have a battle with him. I think who wouldn't want to see that come Sunday. Who else have we got on there? We have to be more coming this afternoon as well.
So welcome back in.
We have Scotty Scheffler, Justin Thomas, John Rahm, Jordan Spieth, Sepp Straka from last week, Justin Thomas and Bryson. Loads to get on there. And we'll obviously have recap of this next week, and hopefully we might jump on Sunday if I'm about. I'm not 100% sure yet. I will post that on my socials if we're doing something. I'll set that up here, the live. So do follow along my socials, Niall McGrath for everything, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, all that. Listen, enjoy it. Going to be an unbelievable week at Quail Hollow. A little bit, honestly, it is a little bit disappointing at Quail Hollow. Let's not all lie. Let's not all lie. Bit disappointing start. It's like a regular sort of tour course, but the field is what's gonna make this. And I hope it lashes. You know, I hope it just gets so bad, the weather. The forecast is a little bit iffy. It's going to be interesting to see if they do pick and place. I don't think they'll be able to do that at a major championship. It would be avoid that at all costs. That'll be a real bummer. But we're also going to talk about these soon. These are I got them. And if you can get a little zoom on this, let me get in. Come on, get it right. Okay, these are my TaylorMade. Why isn't it zooming properly? My TaylorMade P770s. These I got custom. I don't even think, why wasn't it zooming? They're absolute beauts. So what I did was, I'm going to talk about this in more detail. I asked AI, I went, right, let's do a proper custom fit, book one in McGrath's Golf. Great golf store here in Ireland. Do great custom things, unbelievable staff. Highly recommend them. But just for as a comparison, before I went down there, I asked ChatGPT what I gave it, like all sort of details, how I hit the ball, my ball flight, what clubs I was using, you know, my tendencies to miss, where I missed, you know, was a chunk in the ball, was I thin it, all the information as much as possible. Like literally, I went into serious detail on ChatGPT, and I went down to McGrath's and did the same thing. Obviously, you go down with a 7-iron. Normally, you're getting fitted, and then you talk to the fitter about, you know, what you're doing wrong, where you're missing. He's a look at your stats, all that thing. It's a fantastic experience. I'd highly recommend to anyone. Striping these, by the way, since I got them, I've only played 2 rounds because of a bloody infection in my finger from some dirty crap. But I was on when you're cleaning the spikes. Just cut my hand open. It hasn't healed properly. So minimal amount of golf, but like, unbelievable. I was going to show you the details of that in a few weeks. I'm looking forward to that because I just need a little bit of time to get it done. But just fascinating, unbelievable. Like, wait till you see this stuff. It's crazy how the comparisons came together. Unbelievable stuff. But that's for another day. We're going to enjoy the golf this weekend. Hopefully, jump on for a live on Sunday. If I'm able to, as I said, I'll post that on social media, Niall McGrath for Twitter, Instagram. Enjoy the golf. Going to be an absolute belter. I'm going heavy on Justin Thomas. I'm not changing my mind, but if there's anyone else, it's going to be Scotty. But I'm still going to stick with, in my opinion, the most informed golfer in the world. So enjoy the weekend.
All right.